preventative thing. I promise to give you an hour. So if you need to check with your loved ones to make sure that you can be a little bit late to whatever you had going on, please reach out to them now. Again, my name is Jay Lawrence. We have quite a few people that have been inviting people to our events. I want to make sure. Hey, John, if you're here, I need you to unmute yourself. Yeah, okay. Yes, I did add more seats. That's what everybody's getting in. Okay. We're going to give it about 2 more minutes, everyone, to just allow people to continue to jump in. We're going to mute everybody, of course, right, across the board. We're going to have a Q&A on the back end. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go a half hour just in what the wealth flow is. Right? We're going to talk about specifically like what the wealth flow does specifically when you are focusing on real estate, right? And specifically when you're focusing on crypto. So, John, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Yes, sir. I'll monitor the participants.
Thank you. There you go, John. You can keep that up. It'd be great. And I love to see all the people. So when I do these events, and we have events, sometimes it's just 10 people. Sometimes we have, we've had events before when we're on StreamYard. We had events as large as 4,300 people, right, on StreamYard. So I think the next time we do this, we're actually going to migrate to StreamYard because I'm thinking that the content that we're actually able to share with you and the things that you're going to be able to use as actionable items are number one. I know a lot of you are participating in these programs, right? By show of hands, who knows what the PPP program is? Raise your hand if you know what it is. Yeah. Okay. Right? If you don't know what a PPP program is, I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just going to say this. You better ask your neighbor. Okay? If you're ever so lucky to be able to participate and they come to fruition, the number one thing with these PPP programs is this little known thing called patience. You have to be patient, right? I've participated in, now I've been involved in my life in 4 of them. I've had 2 positive outcomes, right? I have one that's actually running right now, and it's almost, at this point, I think we are officially 9 months late. It's okay. And the one thing I can tell you about these programs, I'm not involved in the program you guys are involved in. I'm not. I don't know what you guys have got going on, other than this kind of, I've heard that you guys have been able to kind of participate in something at a very high level. As they say, God is good, right? We want to make sure that you guys know that I don't have skin in your game, but I am in the business because I have participated. And the first time I participated, it happened quickly. Like literally, I was spoiled. Like, we put money in, and it was what I would consider to be a substantial amount. It was over $500,000. If you're American, $500,000 is money. And about 6 weeks later, got our first payout. And this was, again, it was a 40-week thing. Because of the way that we came in, we only got 36 weeks worth of money, but we got money. It took a couple more years for me to be able to participate again in something, and that one, it took 2 years each, right? And I put in a little bit more money because I had a little bit more to put in. I don't know who's running the program that you guys are participating in, but I do know this. You only can control certain things in life, right? There's only certain things in life you can control. And the number one thing you can control is yourself, right? You can't control any other human beings because, quite frankly, we have trouble controlling ourselves. So let me just make sure we're on the same page. Tonight, we're going to actually share some baseline information that's going to help you when you do get money, whether it be through this type of program, or you have a very successful real estate program that you're participating in, or you're in crypto. By show of hands, who actually is participating in crypto at a level which they have more than $1,000 worth of crypto in their wallets? Show of hands. Anybody? Not that many people. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. We're gonna stick to the subject at hand. All right, we got a few. I see you, Destiny. I see you, Michelle. Okay, Krista says she just got started. All right. So if anybody has participated in crypto, do me a favor, go into the chat and just simply say crypto. Type the word crypto, CR. Type it in. If you participated in crypto or currently participating in crypto, you have more than $1,000 in your wallet. Good. Keep that coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Good. Good. 10, 12, 14 of you, 16 people, 17. Keep going. 18, 19. Again, if you have crypto in your portfolio, yes, we'll transcribe. We'll allow that. And you have more than $1,000 in your crypto wallet, again, just type crypto in. Don't do it twice. We want to get an accurate count. So we have 25 people amongst so far we have 173 participants in this Zoom, okay? So it's helpful to know who the people are, those that you have, decided to, to work with or partner with. In this case, 27 people have at least $1,000 worth of crypto. Why is that a value? Number one, if you did not know, crypto, okay, is really, and it's less about crypto, more about blockchain, right? Everybody know what blockchain is. Raise your hand if you know what blockchain is, real quick. Okay. Okay. Blockchain, yes. Go in and just hit Y or thumbs up if you know what blockchain is. Everybody, real quick, in the chat. Let's hit it. Hit it. Okay. Very important. Very important. So here's the definition, and here's what blockchain really is. Is everybody ready? Blockchain is the internet 3.0. So let's rewind. If we're talking about 1996, and I know that most of you guys is babies and you was in kindergarten and then, but if you're an old head like me, you remember 96. When right around that time, the real internet started to come online. And if somebody in 96 said, hey, there's this company, they're thinking about doing this thing, and the name of the company is Amazon. And you remember where you were in 96. And Amazon could have been the forest for all you knew, right? Right. When somebody said books, you're like, wait a minute, is it a library? Is it what was it? Barnes and Noble, or what was the other major bookstore? Right? It wasn't that many of them, right? So here's how this works. And this is important to know. The blockchain is going to be the way that you do everything in life. Not some things. Right now, you know that 50% of your life is on the internet. When you go to buy something, every Christmas is here, how many of you guys actually order something online? Okay, right. Somebody bought something online on this line. My point is that the thing about blockchain is that it actually allows us to all have a stake in all of the transactions that happen, and there's a level of security, and it's secure because of the following. And this is relative to our conversation for tonight. Everything that you know to do today, there's some centralized organization that is this sort of the linchpin. They're the ones in the middle. As an example, Facebook is a centralized organization. How do you know? There's a CEO, and his name is Zuckerberg. Okay? Amazon is a centralized organization. How do you know? Because his name is Bezos, right? I drive Teslas. As it turns out, I love the guy. He's a genius. He's an alien, but his name, right? Elon Musk, centralized organization. But if you look at something known as DeFi, who knows what DeFi is? DEFI. By show of hands, go in. I want you to type the word DeFi in the chat right now if you know what it is. DEFI. Real quick. If you know what it is, we're going to just do this for 2 more minutes. Let's go. If you know what DeFi is. Maybe 10, 12 of you. See, I love this group because I love honesty, right? Like, there's no, in the world that we live in, there's no such thing as a wrong answer. There's just degrees of right. Okay? So always feel compelled. Thank you. Thank you for that. Right. Decentralized finance, right? That's what it is. That's what DeFi is. Well, why is DeFi so important? Because DeFi was born out of the blockchain. And what DeFi is, what if I told you that today that everybody can actually be the bank? Not like have a debit card and go to the bank. You can actually be the bank. There's 2 types of banks. There's the blockchain bank, and there's this analog bank, which is traditional bank, right? So tonight we're going to talk about 2 types of banks. We're going to talk about the DeFi bank because on blockchain, as I said, the value of blockchain is that you can actually own a piece of the chain. You can do all of your banking, just like you go to Chase and Wells and Citi and all these others. Did you know that you can get a debit card that actually is something that you can stake, like you would normally, like old school folks know, it used to be something at the bank called a CD. Remember that? And I'm not talking about the round thing that you used to put in, in your car, right? It used to be like a CD. You go to the bank, and I know I like to date myself. I'm all about, see, I wear this silver hair on purpose. It brings a little credibility. Who says yes to credibility to a little silver? Yes? A little bit, right? Shane is like, yup, I got some. Okay, I get it. But here's what's so important to know. First off, those who actually participate and actually bring their camera live, Pretty. I love that. Love the spelling of that name. Thank you. And Ann, thank you so much, Ann, for rocking them glasses like your boy here. And is it Tanny? Yes. Okay, Tanny. Yep. Thank you. Of course, I see Eartha over there. Definitely. Julia, thank you so much. Chuck, I see you back in the back, man. You're hanging out. Okay. Right. But the more that we can actually have visuals, so we can actually participate, the more energy that we have, the more answers you can get to the questions that you have. Right. So Marilyn, we see you back there. Right. Yay, Linda. Sherry, we got you. Well, Dexter, he got his on, but Dexter's on mute. And Veronica, you know how, right now on Zoom, everybody's figured out that that one element, that you can actually take your video and you can make it blurry, right? Right. So Veronica's got the blurry going on right now. Tori, we see you. Okay, so let me tell you guys something. Many of you participated about 2 weeks ago, and we did one of these events, and I was able to kind of share with you a little bit about my background. But I'm going to tell you this is what I know for a fact. The worst story that you can tell is your own. So I'm not going to spend time telling you a story of which that I know that others could tell my story better than me. But I have to give you a few highlights. Cool? Okay. So this does matter. Historical context does matter. So I'm here in California, right? I'm in Long Beach right now. I grew up in the Bay Area. I when you grew up in the Bay Area, particularly at the time I did, you only had two opportunities as a black man. One was to go live in San Quentin, or two, join the military. When you grew up in Oakland, Richmond, back in the 70s and 80s, that's all you got. Okay? I went to the military. As it turns out, for some strange reason, they decided to give me a Pentagon, a top secret, and a White House clearance at 18 years old. I want y'all to know, I went to like El Segundo Berkeley High School. Do you know that smoking weed was like a participation sport back then? But, you know, God is so good. Somehow they were like, they saw through all of that and they said, you know what? We believe that you will jump in front of a bullet and protect the president. Yes, they gave me those clearances. You know how I can tell? Because I actually spent my first night in the U.S. Coast Guard in the month of May of 1981. Why is that so important? Because the March of 1981, John Hinckley shot President Reagan. So, I don't know, March, April, May, within 3 months of them shooting the president, they chose me to go work at the White House. That was amazing. So in September of that same year, I'm standing in the South Lawn of the White House. Anybody's at DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you know, inside the Beltway. I'm standing there and this is what happened. I'm listening to this guy. He was about, I don't know, over there, and he was in front of a mic, and he had this big bellowing voice. Shane, you may know this guy. He said at the time, Mr. President, can you tell us about this Iran controversy? Well, the guy was the ABC correspondent, you know, at the time. He was talking to, obviously, President Ronald Reagan, and President Ronald Reagan then looked to his left, and to his left was this guy in fatigues. His name was Oliver North. So that was the first time the world, Sam Donaldson was, of course, his name, ever heard of this term or this word or this theory of Iran controversy. That may mean something to people that are older, but people that are younger, you don't even know what that was. So I happened to be at the White House at the
I can't hear.
Hey, Jay, I think your phone's on the screen. I couldn't hear you.
It's all good. So, as it turns out, I was there the night that Imelda Marcos and Ferdinand Marcos, they used to be like the dictators of the Philippines. They were expelled, and they came to the White House. Okay, and I'm standing there outside opening doors, and all these protesters are out front screaming and yelling, and I had no clue these people who just came in out of the country, you know, why they were at the White House. I did not know. Historical context matters. I can share these stories with you because there's only one real superpower that I have. It is that, first off, my life is like a Forrest Gump movie. I've done so many things. It's not even a brag. It's just like I keep going along because I keep paying attention. So the value of paying attention and knowing that people will stand up for you at the right time meant that when the government said, hey, we're looking for somebody who will go work at the White House, who has in himself that if in fact somebody pulled out the gun, he'd be the guy that jumped in front of the bullet, they chose me. That matters because when you have those type of clearances, when you get out of the military, these companies want to come and give you a job, hopefully. Now, I don't like guns. I mentioned that the only job that I knew that you can get, you know, when I was a kid was either you're going to live in San Quentin as a prisoner or you were going to work at San Quentin as a guard, right? And neither of those were appealing to me. So why would I want to have anything to do with guns? So when I got out, I was really focused on data. And as it turns out, I went to work with a company and their whole business was data forensics, data security. This is way back in the 80s, right? So I worked with them for a year, and a year in, they came to me, you know, conference room and said, hey, We want to know, what do you know about Weeby Meeby? Weeby Meeby, I was like, I have no idea what that is. It was women and minority-owned business enterprises, right? They said, hey, listen, we'll partner with you. You'll have on paper 51% of the company, and we can go and get bigger government contracts. We were in DC. That's what you did. So, okay, great. But we're only going to give you 20% of the net proceeds. Net. N-E-T. Did I ask anybody? Did I go after any? No, I just like thought I knew it all. I'm Big Willie, right? And I said, yeah, I signed a contract, had no attorneys review it, nothing. Worked with the company as the figurehead for 6.5 years. Sold the company. Now, the term net proceeds matters. So how many of you ever done a real estate transaction before? Bought a piece of real estate, whether that be for your primary residence or an investment? Yes, okay, Tommy, I see you. Raise your hand if you have. Okay, Jay, Randy, Kay, Donna, Bev, got you. Okay, Liz, Tori, Melvin, Rick, right? We have some real estate participants here, right? Let me tell you this. If you guys are inside the wealth flow, if every person here on this line was inside the wealth flow officially, guess what will happen? 100% of you be raising your hands on a real estate acquisition. That's another story. So I'm telling you this story relative to me being involved in a business where I was a figurehead, but because my ego was so out of whack that I decided to sign a contract and work for a company where I was, yeah, I had a W-2, but I knew I was going to get a distribution of 20% of the net proceeds. Well, here's the real crazy truth. Net determines much. Net could have been, I don't know, after we paid our taxes, whatever the net was, or net could have been after everybody else got paid. I got 20% of that number. Humility is everything. I can admit to you today that my number was closer to the latter, where a lot of other people who didn't work, who didn't really invest, but got built in because they were kind of quote unquote favored over me. I ended up getting a very small piece of the pie. The company sold for in excess of $100 million. That was back in the 90s. You know how much I got out of the deal? $2 million. Then I had to pay taxes. Wow. Now, still, when you end up with $500,000 in 1994, it's still pretty good, right? Not when you also divide that number by 6.5. I was less than $100,000 a year. Is that a good number? Not so much. So why did I only end up with $500,000 when I was at $2 million was my gross payout? Because I took all the money to me personally. I did not know. Well, how did I take it to myself personally? Because someone said you need to have an S corp. By show of hands, who has an LLC in S corp form? Or who has an S corp? It's okay. I'm not going to put you out there, but if you have an S corp, raise your hand. I'm admitting that I had one. Okay? See, these are legacy players. So if you're a legacy player, you still have an S corp. What does that mean? That means you're still operating out of old school. Because what's the number one reason why they tell you to have an S corp? Number one, guys, if you're taking notes, ladies, if you're taking notes, number one reason is corporate veil protection, meaning the corporate veil is so strong it's going to prevent you from being sued. But how many of you guys want to get into deals where you're in bed with so many snakes and serpents that they will be suing you anyway? That's on you for choosing the wrong partners. Being sued is not the number one reason why you should be any type of entity. Profit retention should be the number one reason. But by nature, if you're in an S corp like I was, you're taking all that money personally. It's like having a glorified W-2 income. Really? Is that brilliant or is that dumb? I call it dumb luck. I was dumb lucky enough to be in position for those people to offer me 51% of a company, but I was so dumb that I didn't know the difference between taking a gross share at 20% versus a net share without any stipulation at 20% of the net. But I still got $2 million. I'm going to exacerbate my dumbness. I took all that $2 million personally. I'm going to exacerbate my dumbness. I had a structure that called for the money to come through a company of which that I had to take 100% of the the income to me personally. I mean, you know that movie? Who saw that movie? It was Jim Carrey and the other dude. It was called Dumb and Dumber. See, in that movie, it took two people to be Dumb and Dumber. My first exit, it just took me. I played both roles. Okay? But guess what I call that? I call that, you see, I never went to college. I went right to the military. And what I learned from that whole escapade, that was my PhD program. You see, for me, in my PhD program, unlike most of you guys who have PhDs with that certificate on the wall, my PhD program actually netted me out $500,000 when I graduated. So what is that called in life? Perspective. Okay? Would I be bitter? If I was a lesser person, I would be bitter. But why would I be bitter when, quite frankly, you know, if I did go to college, tell me, do we have any master's degrees individuals here online? Masters? Somebody raise their hand if they had a master's or have a master's or 2 or 3. Somebody type inside the chat, how long do you have to be in school, in college, to get a master's degree at minimum? Type in that number. 4 years? What's the average to get a master's? Somebody said 4, some said 8, average is 6, okay, 6 years. Okay, how much time do you have to add on to that master's program to get a PhD? Somebody type that in. 2 additional years? Okay. Somebody did it in 10 months. That's a super smart person right there. They're a professional studier. Okay, great. Okay, 6 to 12 years. Okay, here's where we're going with this. This is why it's so important. I spent 6.5 years to get a master's degree and a PhD and walk away with $500,000. Yes, somebody wrote in there in the chat, they wrote in perspective. Yeah, my perspective is I learned and they paid me. So there's more to the story. Who wants to know more about this? By show of hands. If you don't, it's cool. We can just, okay. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. 2 years later, I started a new company. Same field, but here's the thing. This time when I started the company, I actually learned all the lessons that I learned during that PhD program. I went and actually brought my own attorney in and made him in-house. I vetted that attorney. I understood the contracts that he knew, the things that I didn't know, that I lost on before. I made sure that he understood and taught me all of the sort of the learnings that I should have gotten with the people that put me in position, that used my likeness, put me on a 51%, but they knew for 6 years that they were going to disenfranchise me. They were my professors. So 2 years later, when I started this new company, I had the right infrastructure. I had the right people involved. This time, it took me 9 years to sell the company, but when I sold the company this time, I sold it and we made a lot more money. I did not have an S Corp, I had a C Corp. And I sold the company to some entity, and half was offshore, and half was here in the States, and it was this elaborate thing. And guess how much money that I retained after you paid all the taxes and all the bills and all the attorneys and all this and all the infrastructure? I had less than $2 million of cash. 9 years later, we had 4 offices, had over 200 employees. And after all of that, and I worked with corporate law departments. Anybody know this company used to be called Bell South? Down in the Southeast, all 9 states. We did data forensics for them. This other company, some people call them the people with the brown, right? UPS, Cox Communication, Monsanto, ConAgra, like big companies. I'm not playing. There was only, guys, ladies, there was only, for me, there was only 1,000 people in the United States that I would talk to every year relative to the business. That was the chief compliance officer and the chief litigation officer of the S&P 500. That's it. But after all of that knowledge and everything I did, 6.5 years, then 2 years or more study, then 9 years later, after all of that, in the second company, because of structure and something that I didn't even learn until after I sold the second company, I had $2 million of cash. Let's do the math. 9 years, right? $2 million. What is the average per year? I don't know, a hair over what? Not a lot. You see, even when you win, by any stretch of the imagination, who would like to start a company, ended up selling the company and receiving $500,000 worth of net? Who would like, and this is in the 90s, who would like to do the same thing by the early 2000s, make $2 million when everybody else, this was in 2006, so you know what was happening in 2008, people literally were losing their minds, losing their houses. I didn't have to go through that. But yet, I still didn't know what I needed to know. Thank you for that, Maxwell. Maxwell says that my average was in that second company, $222,222.22 per year. Wow. That's nothing. Okay? But what did I get out of that? PhD. Let me tell you how I got the second PhD. It wasn't going through the 9 years. Is when I sold the company to a big accounting firm, right? It was one of their subsidiaries. And they forced me to work with them for a year. See, when you sell a company, they're not going to let you sell them a bag of poo and walk away with some money. Nope. They're going to force you to stay on because they want to make sure that you can't go too far. No problem. But they put me in the M&A division. And all I did was merger acquisition. But what I did was, I'm not an attorney, even though I had over 200 attorneys on my staff over the years of the companies that I ran, and a bunch of paralegals. You see, what we did was we ran war rooms for all these massive tort litigations all across the nation. Oh, Motorola was one of my clients too. So was Dow Chemical. Okay. So I'm not pretending and playing. I'm sharing this with you guys because I want to give you historical context of why I know what I know. So in that 1 year, when I was in the M&A division, reviewing data and documents associated with potential mergers that this company, they have clients, and they had us reviewing the client M&A docs to ensure that the deal that was it was imminent, was going to happen. We were the last line of defense to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Why is that so important? Guys, here's how it works. When I'm reviewing the documents, and I've been doing this thing for over 27 years, I've been in that space, right? So I knew what I knew. I knew what I knew, and I didn't even know why I knew it. You know, in life, sometimes there's certain things you're just good at. Maybe it's because you got your 10,000 hours, right? Everybody knows the book, right? Well, here's how it works. I kept seeing, and when we were reviewing these companies that were either selling, these companies that were selling to other individual companies or buying individual companies, they had this one theme they had these structures inside their corporate structure. And that structure was this thing known as a complex trust. It was a complex trust. And they had this other thing. It was a non-operating 501c3. I knew what a 501c3 is, but I never knew there was a non-operating one. In fact, it was oxymoronic. How can you have a non-operating entity? What is that good for? All right, I'm gonna step to the side and I want to say this to you guys. Follow me on this. Follow me. The IRS is like, how many of you are Marvel fans? By show of hands, who knows Marvel? Like Marvel, like Disney Marvel. Type the word Marvel in the chat right now. If you know who Marvel is, type Marvel. Real quick, hit me. Perfect. Okay, guess what? This was so crazy. There's this character. The character's name is Loki. Loki's known as the trickster. Why is this so important? Because the IRS is Loki. Loki doesn't lie to you. He just don't tell you the whole story. He leaves things out. He's like the international man of mystery, right? He gives you just enough to intrigue you, and you think it's one thing, and the whole time it's the other. Let's go back to where I was saying, where I was going with the IRS. You see, the IRS has this thing called a non-operating 501c3. That non-operating entity, it operates, but it operates in privacy and anonymity. What if I told you that that thing, which is it has no income tax, no capital gains tax, and no property tax? Okay? And then it has features that it either can give, so it can give stuff away. It makes grants, like grant making, it can write grants. But the most powerful component, it can loan and it can invest. So if it receives donations and all the donations are tax exempt, and it takes those tax exempt dollars and it turns around and either it's going to gift, it's going to endow or grant, it's going to loan, or it's going to invest tax-free money to entities that it controls. You know what that's called? In the chat, type in what you think that's called. What is that entity called? A non-operating 501c3. In layman terms, what is that thing called? Real quick, somebody said double dipping. Keep going. Come on. Tax haven. Come on. Keep giving it to me. Come on. Here's the answer. It's called a bank. It's a bank. You want more validation? Hands up. You want more validation? Yes? Here's the validation. Here we go. Everybody, you all on the computer right now, you have my permission to click away, open another tab. I want you to look up the following. Google the following. Do, like D-O, banks, B-A-N-K-S, pay, P-A-Y, taxes, T-A-X-E-S, question mark, enter. Come on. Let me share this way. While you guys are doing this, I'm going to share this with you. There is always a lesson in everything that we will cover. All you have to do is pay attention. I shared that with you in the beginning. That should be your superpower. So somebody tell me, I'm gonna tell you, because I wanna make sure, I just need you to verify, just at least put your hand up if in fact you run that little search. Do banks pay taxes? Question mark. Okay. Right. I'm gonna read what Maxwell has here. Maxwell, banks other than federally chartered banks exempt from direct state taxation under federal law. There's variations of this, but the one word answer is no. Okay, guys. I'm working with a firm who just bought my company. I was begrudging because they wanted me to stay on. I wanted to go to like to Brazil and Costa Rica and spend money and hang out. Be careful with what the universe provides you. What did they do? They forced me to stay, punch a clock for 365 days. That was the PhD, because they taught me that every one of these multinational conglomerates, every S&P 500 company has these derivatives known as private family endowment foundations. The technical term is non-operating 501c3. Wow. Right, Clintons. Right, Bezos. Right, Buffett's. Right, Gates. All of them. Here's the thing. Every company, multinational company, they have a series of banks. And what did I say? They take donations in, they turn around and they invest and they loan. So if you want to know why they don't pay taxes, because the IRS is clear. A private family endowment foundation, which is a private entity that has no public listing, is privately listed with the IRS because the IRS wants to make sure that there's governance in the organization. But they say when you retain the profit, they want and they allow you to go out and invest and loan back into the community to do community good, create more jobs, create more payroll tax, more FICA, right? Those are the things that matter to the government. What matters to the US government? Having full employment. Why? Because when you're on a W-2, what do? It's a forced taxation. What? Are you following me here? Like, for real. If I'm going too far down the rabbit hole, you're not getting it. Come back the next time we have one of these, you'll catch up. But know this, they need you to have a series of W-2. Either you're going to do it or you're going to employ a bunch of people to do it. But no matter what, there will be W-2 employees in America, period. That's the engine of growth. Makes sense, right? So now let's think about you in your situation, in your family. If one of the things that you have in your arsenal of wealth growth is that you have your own private family bank. And the US government gives you this letter that says that you don't have to pay taxes as long as you turn around and take the profits. By show of hands, who knew that the IRS only makes money when you show them profits? They're like, Jay, what are you talking about? It's okay. Here's how it works. There's something called how many of you filed a tax and use a 1041 tax form? 1041. They try to make it so easy. They even got a form for you. It's called 1040 easy. On the 1040 side, on the 1041 side, like the rest of us, who are inside the wealth flow, we have something that many people on the 1040 side wish they had. We have a title. Our title, when you're on the 1041 side, is called trustee. We're a trustee at the federal level. When you're a trustee at the federal level, this amazing thing happens. They trust you so much with the money that when you spend money, they don't ask you to itemize what you spent. Did you know that? You see, on the 1041 side of life, there's this thing that you have on the 1040 side. We don't have it on our side. On the 1040 side, you have something known as a Schedule C. Schedule C means we don't trust you. You know how you can tell? Because every time you write an expense, you know, you use that office in your house, we force you to measure out how many feet and do a calculus to determine how much of the house you can write up as a business expense, because the rest of it, we're going to tax. Oh, this other thing, you know that house that you have, that interest credit, we're going to limit how much interest we're going to allow you to write off on your taxes, but the rest of it, like if you have these things called Airbnbs, if you're so lucky to have more than one property, you decided to Airbnb or VRBO your property, you know that the income that comes from those entities, if you don't have the right structure, they're taxing you on those dollars as if it's what? Income. And guess what? When you try to like take the income and you try to kind of say, well, you know what, we're going to write this off because we bought that and did that, they don't allow you to simply just put it on a single line. So on the 1041, here's what we get to do. Like this year, I was able to take a lot of money, and when I go to put how much I spent, I put the whole amount. They don't care about the itemization. They just say, tell us the entire amount that you spent. And guess what I do? I do that. And they say, well, Jay, you're good. We don't care about the details. Just tell us how much you spent. Oh, Jay, by the way, because you're a trustee at the federal level, at this complex contract trust level, every time you spend $1, Jay, we're going to let you write that dollar off at 100%. And we're not going to check your math. There's no itemization. Oh, Jay, guess what? We're now going to give you 3 choices. Everybody lean in. Here are the choices. It's not me, it's the Supreme Court. Here are the choices. You ready? Choice number 1. I have the money that's left over from the money that I spent. The IRS considers that profit. And what did I tell you, the IRS? How do they get paid? On what? Profit. And they say, before you give us our profit in the form of taxation at 40%, you see, when you're in a trust, they want to tax you 40% on the profit. But they say, wait a minute, before you pay us, we trust that you are a fiduciary and that you know what to do with the profits. So we're going to allow you to do 2 things. Either 1, you can distribute it to another entity that you control, or 2, you can donate it to another entity that you control. Let's think about it. 1, you can donate. 2, you can distribute. I'm going to say it again. 1, you can distribute. 2, you can donate. I'm going to say it one more time. 1, you can donate. 2, you can distribute. You get the theme? There's only 2 things you're going to do. And every year they know, because you are a good steward of the profit, that now that money is going to flow, and you're going to be able to eventually put that in that bank. Remember that private family endowment foundation, that non-operating 501c3, that thing that has no tax base, but they say now that it's there, you may as well loan it out or invest it out so you can create more jobs, build more buildings. Get it? Buy more Subway franchises if that's your kid, right? Do that thing, but do it prolifically so you can create more jobs and have more tax base coming into the system. So what is this little diatribe about tonight? It's about you taking the opportunity to do what is your 100% God provided right as an American citizen. You know what that's called? Your right as an American citizen is to take advantage of the wealth creation, wealth preservation, and wealth growth machine that they have created. I don't have a PhD traditionally. I got my PhD by going through that gauntlet of things that business people have to go through at a level of success. I had to take my lumps. I had to lose in order to win. The blessing is I get to sit here. We have 200 people on this Zoom tonight. And I just told you guys a story. And here's the thing. We tell stories, never lies. All you gotta do is pay attention to your own life. Just regurgitate it. I tell you the one story that you can never tell is your own. Guess what? Other people will be telling the story that I'm sharing with you, and you may be one of those. And other people are gonna want to know more about what this is. You see, I'm giving it to you for free, the knowledge, because I know it is our right as Americans to be wealthy. Don't they say the world's greatest country? You think I'm kidding? Right? I don't care what color you are. Let me tell you this. I'm purple. And when you come to me, I'm red, white, and blue. You see what I'm saying? I don't care about none of this other political stuff. All I do is go right to the profit machine. Create your profit machine. Your entire legacy is counting on you to learn this at a level of which that your friends and family will refer to you as a savant when it comes to wealth building. There's 3 types of wealth. It starts with creation, and a lot of you guys are good at that. Most people stumble at number 2, which is the wealth preservation part. Taxation, fees, and capital mismanagement. Why do people who hit the lottery 5 years later, they hit and they're broke? They hit for $100 million, and then 5 years later, they're working at a menial job, doing menial work that's not inspiring. It's because they had zero knowledge around the last thing, which is wealth growth. Wealth creation, wealth preservation, then you get to wealth growth. That's what this experience is about. I'm going to do a little bit of a commercial. We're at the top of the hour. Here's the commercial. We're having an event in Las Vegas next week. It's on the 7th and the 8th in Las Vegas. The event, you can go to Wealth Flow Educators with an O, educators, TORS.com. Wealth Flow Educators. John, do me a favor. Type that, put that in the chat. Here's why this is so important. We're going to expand upon the education. We're going to give you an opportunity to walk and talk with other members that are inside of our syndicate. If you're either a millionaire multiple times, you're a millionaire at least one time, or you're damn near crossing the line to be your first millionaire category. Everybody that's there, that's already in the wealth flow, has already reached that status. But everybody, guess what? There's 4 virtues that we all have. You want to know what they are? Number 1, everybody is super smart. This is all I attract. Super smart people who just get it. Like they don't know exactly everything that they think that they should know, but they know so much that they're actually like dialed in to all the teaching and learnings. That's number 1. Number 2, they literally are led by integrity. What is that? Integrity is defined of the things that you do when nobody else is around. Number 3, everybody that's there, that's going to be at our event in Las Vegas, they're all super ambitious. I mean, they just get after it. It's like, you remember back in the day, it was this show was called In Living Color, and they had a skit. It was like, hey, Mom, how many jobs you got? right? Right. But we have people, they don't have jobs like, out there digging ditches. We have people that's making, their job is creating and growing profits. We have people that have multiple profit channels, and we're going to share with you how you can too. That's in Vegas. But the last virtue of the four is the most important. Everybody who is there, everybody is kind. Kind. Okay? You know where we are on this planet right now with all the stuff and all the backbiting over this last political cycle and all that crazy stuff. You know what? I only amplify working directly with people that understand that kindness is a virtue of which you can't fake. You can fake being nice. Everybody knows, right? You can fake being nice. You cannot fake being kind. Because kind requires your soul to be exposed enough that you literally will humble yourself to pick someone up when everybody else is stepping over that person. That's what kindness is. Lastly, the reason that I want you guys to consider being there is because there's people that's just like you, like we know when you're inside the wealth flow, we're all aliens. And I mean this in the sense that like there's things that we do, like we resonate at a level of which that we're willing to read and participate and go, and not just like go just because we want to be in the house, but we're all about activating on all of the opportunities and the solutions that were provided to us because we get after it. I told you, super smart, integrity led, super ambitious, and kind. So please go to the site when you get a chance, when we're done here, fill out the little form that says, hey, I want more information about it, and we'll send it. Oh, by the way, the event is free. People are like, what? It's free? The event is free. Oh, and it's not a whole weekend of commercial. We're not trying to sell you. We want to make sure that when you step into the wealth flow, when you make a decision to do this, that you're doing it based on your knowledge that you can kill the game. We want you to be able to get in and activate because it's not even about you. Bull, how you doing, sir? Yeah, I remember you. It's not about you. It's really about 15 generations of legacy that's counting on you today to get it right. You get it? So be live at the event, right? Oh, by the way, I purposely did not record this. Let me tell you why. Because it's value in showing up live. You want it? Be there. Now, I told you, it's going to be folks going to be telling this story. Did I say that the worst story that you can tell is your own? If this was not recorded, you guys are going to go out and tell other people about the experience of this evening. I'm going to end on this. We have a 22-minute video, and I hope you guys each watched it. It's a 22-minute explainer video on the wealth flow. And as you know, I didn't show you a deck. All right, I wasn't giving you a presentation. What did we do? We talked about a story, right, about a person who paid attention as they went along. Okay, this is what I do know. Lastly, the entire financial system is being run by people who are counting on you to sleep through the process. All of their billions and trillions are created on your lack of action around the obvious things to do. They count on you to be disenfranchised, to be frustrated, to be like, nah, that's okay, forget it, I'll just go in and punch that clock anyway. Now, how can you tell? Right? You have less than 0.5% of the populace on the planet that own 99% of the wealth across the entire planet. Do the math. There's 7 billion plus people now going into 2022. Less than 1/2 of 1/10 of the percent of the entire populace owns 99% of the global wealth. What? That means that 99% of the people are sharing less than 1% of the total wealth on the planet. Do the math. I'm giving it to you this way because you have to know. You cannot do, everybody knows the definition of insanity, right? You have to stop pretending that you're insane. You're not. You're smart. I'm going to give everybody one book to read. Tell me when you're ready. Show of hands. Put it in there. I want to know the book. Jay, what's the title? Jay, what's the title? Jay, what's the title? Jay, what's the title? Come on, go in the chat. Say, I want to know the title of the book. I want to know. I want to know. Tell me, what is it? What is it? What is it? Let's go. What is it? Give it to me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The title of the book. Ready? Bev's like, come on, Jay. What is it? The title of the book is The Creature from Jekyll Island. The Creature from Jekyll Island. I 100% guarantee that if you get it on Audible, the 24 hours plus of which that title is, it's a 24-hour book. Now, you know the average book on Audible is less than 5 hours. Again, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And if you live in Georgia, you know where Jekyll Island is. Okay? So I'm going to share this part with you. If you can prove to me that you have read at least 5 hours of the book and you show up to our event in Las Vegas next Friday, you will be able to participate in a private dinner that I'm hosting and I'm paying for those that are part of this new versioning opportunity to be new members of the Wealth Club. No commercials. Read at least 5 hours. You can show me, because if you get it on Audible, it's going to tell me. And we're going to have dialogue and discussion about this book. It is going to change. Somebody typed in classic. Somebody typed in classic book. Right? Okay? The Creature from Jekyll Island. If you're so moved to do the right thing for your legacy and come to Vegas, you got to get your own hotel, right? We're at WeWork right there at Town Square. We got the whole pit there. If you've ever been there, you'll know it's an amazing opportunity. We got stage. We got real videographers. Our video team, they actually work on the Tyler Perry shows. Okay, we're not playing. We do it the right way. It's a real production. But everybody's there. All I ask you to do is make sure that you're not bringing that Uncle C with you. You know what I'm talking about, the Uncle C. That's Uncle COVID. Don't bring him with you. Okay. Make sure you're clean. Make sure you got your tests, whatever, right? We're all going to be masked up, I'm going to tell you. And we're probably going to hand you, when you walk in, hand you some kombucha, hand you some magnesium, some zinc, some vitamin D. We're going to go out, we do a halftime, we're going to walk outside. It's nice and sunny out there. We're going to walk this little park, like literally across the street, get some vitamin D, right? But I'm serious. We need you to be there with strong mind, strong presence. 5 hours of that book, that's going to be your entry. Okay? The one thing that you were going to get from this, here's the review real quick. We're going to go over the following. Crypto, DeFi, inside the wealth flow. How you can retain 100% of the profits associated with anything you do in the crypto sphere. You know you got a 20% capital gains tax. See, crypto done right is nothing more than capital gains. That's what it is. Because there's a zero tax base when it starts. What if I told you that you're going to learn exactly how you could take your existing crypto.com, Binance, Kraken, whatever you got, and we're going to help you title all that so you can retain 100%, literally like next Friday and Saturday, how to retain 100% of all the profit that you ever make inside your crypto without hiding it. You ain't got to hide it. Somebody's like, whoa, you're going to be there just for that. Lastly, we focus on commercial real estate. One of our members inside of the syndicate, an incredible woman, literally her and her husband, they've got, I don't know, 15, 16 LLCs they're in oil and gas, they're in different real estate ventures. They are prolific by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, she actually is a CFO of one of those Fortune 500 companies here in the United States right now. She's in the wealth flow, right? She came to us because amongst all the things that they're doing, they're still leaking money. She called it, she says, Jay, we got a leaky boat. We're leaking profits, and we want to be able to retain it. That's why she and her family came into the wealth flow. I offered this woman to do part of our presentation segment to really break down these real estate transactions so you'll actually understand how the deal happens and then how the bookkeeping works so you understand how to read the balance sheet, the P&L, and the perspectives. We tell you this, they don't teach this at Wharton Business School. We teach it for free. You know why? Because we need you to raise your level of intelligence around how you retain profit. It's not about how much you make, it's how much you what? Keep. Y'all, we're going to talk about the foundation component. I have the godfather, literally the godfather of all things in foundations. My mentor, Rick, has been living in the foundation space. Literally, like all he has is a series of foundations, and every one of them is a tax-exempt organization. He's been doing this for over 22 years. He literally, like when you say Messiah on stuff, when it comes to the foundation, Rick is the Messiah, 100%. And then I'm going to share with you more than me just pontificating, but the nuts and bolts of how and why a business trust, a family charitable trust, a 501c2, a 501c25, a 501c8, how all of these, you take these entities and when you structure them the right way, guess what happens? You retain all the profit legally, right? The IRS wants to, they have mechanisms that they want you to retain the profit if you can prove to them that you as a trustee are a good steward of the profit. We're going to teach you how that works. Look, I'm going to take 5 minutes of questions. You have to put your question inside the chat. I'm going to go through, John and I are going to go through and read some of the questions, give you some answers. We're going to be done with this entire event at the bottom of the hour. We have 14 minutes to get some questions and the answers in. So start putting your questions in real quick in the chat right now. Whatever it is, answer, we will give you the answer tonight. And if you have to go, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. We had 201 people, and we were at 190, 197, 198 pretty much through the entire event. So I really appreciate it. So, somebody's asking about the event itself. How long does it take to set the whole thing up? Let me tell you, really, it's about a 21 day endeavor. I'm willing to have that and say that today, right now, because we do have the mechanism that we have a few people, you know, celebrity types that came in at the very end that we set theirs up in a week. It's breakneck pace, and we literally have to double the price, but they have the money, and they just, if somebody's going to lose a couple $1 million due to improper advice that they had from some financial advisor, we clean up their mess, because we make that in this particular case, it was $1.5 million. They got to retain all $1.5 million just because of the structures that we set up today. 100%. Any other questions? What do you mean about non-operating? The non-operating component is not what, think of it this way. It's just a title of which that the IRS uses. They consider it to be a non-operating. Okay. Do you know anything about California unincorporated associations? This sounds like the non-operating. Here it is. When you're opening a bank account for a 501c3 in California, like Chase, Wells, B of A, they typically will not even have a non-operating category. You would default to the unincorporated association. Okay, next question. Just want to thank you. Okay, hey, thank you so much. Advantage of religious trust over the other trust. You know what? It depends. If you're really a church and you really have a flock, a religious, we have the means of actually creating an entity where you don't have a 501. You're still a 501 entity and you have a house of worship. Actually is limiting. How many of you guys remember last year when the COVID thing was shutting down all the churches, and you know, people are like, you can't congregate. You know, in the U.S. Constitution, you know, one of our rights is the right of assembly, right? Well, if you have a 501 and you're a church, you've waived that. Most people did not know this, but we helped many churches overcome that. So thus then, if you don't have the 501, but yet you can still retain the 1023, which is a tax exempt status, that's the best of both worlds. Hope I answered that question. Jay, Jamaica is asking, can you go over that chart for the new people? This is Jamaica. Jamaica, I'm going to ask anybody who wants to actually see the chart, watch the explainer video. Okay, John. In fact, I'll pop it in.
I can. Oh, okay.
Did you put it in already?
I haven't, but I can if you want to keep going through the steps. I can pop it up there.
Okay.
The intro education.
I have it right here, John. Let me just. I'm literally looking at it right now. Take me 2 seconds. Okay, guys. Here is the actual video. For really the nuts and bolts, please just watch that. It's there in the chat. Watch that video. Okay. Let's see. What else we got? We got what's the difference between a 501 and a 501c8? That's a great question. Okay, look, without going into this long diatribe, a 501 is an entity that is typically connected to 501c3, 501c2. It's tied to these a foundation. Is really what these are tied to. Foundation. You can also foundation or charitable. We like to look at that foundation as a for-profit tax exempt entity, as opposed to a foundation that can be a charitable organization. We still provide charity, but we can do business and charity. When it's a charitable organization, you literally, as a 501, you have pretty much almost draconian rules around actually creating. What's the 3 things we have to do? Number 1, wealth creation. Right? So how does a charitable organization create wealth? They have to ask for money. Wealth preservation. Well, typically they have to follow the governance so they don't lose any money. And what does that mean? Typically they have to spend up to 90% of all the money that comes through and retain and run their organization on 10%. And lastly, wealth growth. There aren't many charities that actually have the mandate of growing wealth. Not in a traditional sense where you want to own buildings and do things. Now, there are some that have been doing it, UNICEF, right? Those that have been doing it. But the difference between a 508 is this. A 508 is an entity, and I learned this by doing some research. Did you know the very first entity that ever received a 508 designation is and was this company called One America. What is One America? It's an insurance company. Well, the predecessor of it was a secret society. Did you know that secret societies, they've been around, and back in the day, when in the 1800s, in fact, let me just do the math. Yeah, because this happened right around emancipation, which was in 1864. So in 1867, the first insurance company in the U.S. was adorned with this designation of 501c8. And a 501c8 in that particular case is an insurance company. So this private or secret society became the very first insurance company on the planet. I got that information. Again, I go down the rabbit hole, but also you can find some of that of the Bureau of Labor Statistics to share with you. Okay, what else we got? Can the program be used for business operations in more than one city? Yes, we operate at the federal and the international level, right? We do have holdings at the state level, but we don't have any state taxation. We just happen to be in that state doing business, but we pay our taxes. If we do pay taxes, it's going to be at the federal level. And internationally, we become a tax haven for international operations. So we always make the owner of the entity, your wealth flow is the owner because it's domiciled here. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me just kind of go up a little bit. Okay. What if you can't make it out there? How do you get into the wealth flow? Yada yada yada. Go to the website, right? Everybody who's on that list. If you can't make it, at least we'll be able to, give you some private feeds and some information that's going to help you feel as if that you're there. I do not Zoom live, right? This is a private conversation. You're never going to see me on Facebook, on a Facebook Live and say never. We will be having our content on YouTube and our YouTube channel, but everything is curated, right? Again, there's value in knowing people. So the people that invited you here, they know that you're part alien like the rest of us. That you will sit on an hour or two conversation relative to wealth creation, preservation, and growth, and we won't talk about it in a stodgy, stuffy way. We'll give you the things you need to actually operate with the mindset of what's going to happen throughout 15 generations. So everybody, I think we come to the last little bit. I'm Jay. Again, remember, wealthfloweducators.com. Check us out. I hope to see you next Friday. All the information is on the website. John, thank you so much, my brother. And with that, Happy New Year. Enjoy it. Do your thing, everybody. Right? All right. Talk to y'all.